to listen to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
What is up, Lap Traffic Nation? Welcome to episode 178 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I'm your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. Oh, the weather was actually nice up here in Metro Detroit this weekend, and I say that with mid-highs of the 50s, but we had some sun. You know us Midwesterners, man, it cracks 50 in sun. We are outside in shorts and a T-shirt, which we got to hang out on the patio, smoke some meat in a smoker this weekend, a 9-pound pork butt, shredded that bad boy up. Dropped it off to some porch drop off for some friends and family on Sunday before the race kicked off. Oh, the Zoom happy hours are now like a regular thing, which is pretty cool. Did a couple of those Friday, couple on Saturday, and 6 of us Saturday night played this virtual trivia game, which was, if you've played Cards Against Humanity, it was kind of like that, but you download an app and you log in and it picks up your phone and it sends your phone specific questions and displays answers. It was very cool. Really had a good time doing that. And I'll take stuff like that in the meantime, something different to keep socializing while social distancing. Yes, lots of social there for sure. And we went back virtual racing at Richmond this weekend. Excited to talk about that. Hope you guys enjoyed last week's show with NASCAR's Research and Development Director, Eric Jacuzzi. Enjoyed talking with him about what NASCAR is doing to help with the COVID-19 pandemic. So make sure you check that out for sure. Tonight, I'm really excited about tonight. But before I get to why I'm excited about tonight, if you haven't been following on Twitter, it looks like we might be going back racing soon. So if you are a Lapped Traffic Fantasy player, or you want to become a Lapped Traffic Fantasy player, we're only 4 races in the grand scheme of things. So there is ample time to still get in and maybe make some noise this year. The rules and all that are on the website, thelappedtrafficpodcast.com. Just click the fantasy link. The rules are there. Or if you want it even simpler, tweet me at LapTrafficPC. I'll get in contact with you and get you signed up for sure, because I know it's going to be exciting once we get back going. That said, the rules are going to have to change a little bit as far as picks and all that go, especially during the midweek races and all that kind of stuff. So you might see a poll come through the email here, hopefully in the near future, so that everyone at least has a say in how the things that need to get altered and all that good stuff. So hopefully we get to talk about that very soon. Get some callers calling back in with their picks and all that good stuff. That said, tonight I am so excited about tonight's show. Two parts to tonight's show. Gonna have some fun, switch things up a bit. This Thursday is the NFL draft. And like I said, we're gonna mix both NFL and NASCAR content tonight. Good friend of mine from Yahoo Sports. You have definitely, if not read an article, you've at least, I'm sure, watched his documentary special. Dan Wetzel is going to come on tonight. So excited to talk with Dan. We're going to have a good time breaking down. We're going to talk a little Tom Brady and the Patriots. We're going to talk about the draft. And then, of course, it is Metro Detroit, right? We've got to talk about the Detroit Lions for sure. So looking forward to that. And then a little later on, Aaron Studwell is going to come on, and we're going to talk a little NASCAR. We'll talk the race from Richmond. We'll talk and kind of preview Talladega, and we'll talk about actually going back racing and what our takes are on that for sure. Looking forward to that. All right. I think tonight might be a little bit long. I've already rambled for 4.5 minutes. Let's get things rolling. Let's get none other than Dan Wetzel on the line. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line, making his second appearance on the Lap Traffic Podcast. He's the author of Death to the BCS. He has been to the Olympics. He's been to the Masters, countless Super Bowls, and most recently is the executive producer of the hit Netflix documentary, The Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez from Yahoo Sports. Welcome back to the Lap Traffic Podcast, Mr. Daniel Wetzel. What's up, brother?
What's going on, man? How are you?
I am good. How are you? How's quarantine life treating you?
Well, I I said my garage is clean and my beers are empty. So we're trying our best.
And the honeydew list is checked off, right? Like
we're getting deep in that list, man,
right?
I'll tell you that.
I'm telling you, like, you know, I'm not one to sit down and watch like TV shows and stuff like that. There's a couple, but like anything Lindsay has asked me to do, I'm like, yep, I'll do it, because man, the second that switch flips and we're back racing, oh man, my ass is going to be glued to the TV. Like, I don't want to hear anything.
Yeah, I'm not big on watching too much TV either. So yeah, and my wife's doing the same. It's like, you know, every drawer is getting cleaned and resorted, and what I kind of like is like working in the yard. There's no rush, right? It's like usually it's like, well, I got this Saturday to get everything done because, you know, this and this and this and this, and then it's like, you know, I'm like, get that bush tomorrow.
Yeah, right, absolutely.
It ain't going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere.
Yep.
So,
well,
kind of nice.
And
take some time on stuff.
Speaking of not going anywhere, man, we didn't get to hang out on opening day.
Nope.
We had aspirations that were probably we must have gotten too greedy, because I know we had planned to get together to watch a New England playoff game, but they had other plans.
It didn't last long.
Right.
You know?
I think the last time we hung out, I think, was the Christmas party.
Yeah, it's been since December. So, well, no. Haven't hung out with anybody. So
I know,
not
right?
Anybody, yeah.
Yes, we'll have to make it up once this nonsense goes away here, hopefully.
I like watching that. I do like watching the show Bar Rescue. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Yeah,
it's a ridiculous show. That just makes me want to go to bars.
I know,
even the crappy pre-fixed bar.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'll take it. I will take it. Like, it's a sub. So. That's about all I got.
I text Bob at 24 earlier tonight, and I said, dude, the second the doors open, man, we will be there.
Yeah, it's coming.
Yes. All right. Let's
wash your hands.
Yeah. let's dive in. And we have to start with New England. We're both Patriot guys. So here's where I want to start. New England, Brady, Belichick, can both win without the other.
Yeah, I think they both can. I mean, they're both talented. I mean, I like Brady's chances next season more than maybe Belichick's. But
that's what I was going to ask. I think if we were to look at who was going to have the better first year apart from each other, that it's probably Brady, who's set up for a little bit better success just because Tampa Bay's got a pretty decent offense.
They got a lot of weapons on that team. They've got, two good receivers. They might trade one of their tight ends. They got a running game. Offensive line is not great, but obviously that can be improved, or that can be addressed on Thursday night. Yeah, that will help. An offensive-minded coach. The team went 7-9 last year, and Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions, and 7 of them returned for touchdowns. And they lost, I can't remember the exact stat, but of those 9 losses, 5 or 6 or something were one-score games, maybe more, I don't know. And I think that's why Brady was focused almost exclusively on Tampa, and why when you hear, Tampa thought they were going to have to recruit him, and instead it's like he's talking to them about how he can fit in. And he's got the weapons. Brady's thrown, since 2015, Brady has thrown 29 interceptions. So, even last year without any weapons, he was 24 TDs, 8 picks. If he just takes care of the ball and puts up that kind of a number, 24 and 8, and he has much better weapons. There's no Mike Evans in New England last year. Much better weapons. Tampa goes from 7-9, and it's not hard to see them win 10 games. It's not hard to see them be in the playoffs. And so if you just take care, they got beat because their quarterback threw 30 picks. I mean, that's an incredible number. And rarely happens because normally you get benched. He didn't get benched, so it's kind of a dubious record at times. But still, if he just takes care of it, he's walking into a pretty good team. Now, can they win the Super Bowl? I don't think they can do that, but I think he's going to have a lot of fun on that team. I think he can be a playoff team. Belichick's got a much bigger rebuild. I don't think that's a super talented team. I think he's looking at next year as almost like a rebooting of everything. They had a lot of cap issues that they pushed down the line through the years that I think they're going to be able to maybe address more this year and in 2 years be back. But like, Belichick's a great coach. Brady's a great quarterback. Were they better together? Sure. But I don't think it means one of them is going to fall off the cliff here.
Sure. So if you're Tampa Bay, looking at the draft coming up, pretty, middle of the pack draft spot, knowing that Brady isn't a long-term goal, do you look and maybe take a quarterback if you're Tampa Bay to take advantage of the 1 to 2 years that you might be getting with Brady?
I wouldn't. I think that there's something to be said for that in general. If you were, like if Green Bay wants to take a quarterback or something like that and is looking at, hey, we got a couple years to go here, or where are we at? But I think Tampa's done nothing since winning the Super Bowl. I don't believe they've won a playoff game. They haven't made the playoffs. I think the last playoff appearance was 2010. They got Brady. You go all in around Brady to me. And so I think you go offensive line at that 14 spot. And there's a lot of great receivers out there too, but they're kind of loaded with that. And I think you sit there at 14 and go offensive line, or you position yourself to trade down and take 2 offensive linemen. I think you do everything. You're a nothing franchise for the last 15 years, and here you've got Tom Brady, and you've got to protect him for these next 2 years. So I think it's almost like we're all in. We're going for broke. And that's what happens when you sign a free agent who's going to be 43 years old.
Sure.
I mean, it's now or never. So I think you go all in on that.
I can rally behind that. So in Dan Wetzel's eyes, did Brady want out? Did they not want to pay him? Was it a combination of both? If you had to guess, theorize what happened behind closed doors there with Brady, Belichick, and Kraft, what happened there?
I think Tom wanted to stay and play for New England in general, but it was clear the Patriots were not ready to make that commitment. I think they're looking at it like we're not going to be good enough to win with them. We need to do something for the franchise, and they're just letting them walk. I think if Belichick had made a big effort to get him either the year before or this year, he could have. That doesn't necessarily mean that Brady was just completely jilted at the altar. I think as it started going, he started looking at it and just said, I had one person explain it this way. It's like he's worked so hard to last this long. He's already played like 2 careers.
Sure.
He's played 20 years. And he doesn't have to stay with it's like these are bonus years. So it's not an insult to New England that he's leaving. He shouldn't be here anyway.
Good.
He should just be retired.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, you know what? I'm going to go down where it's warm and they get all these young receivers. And remember last year, you're a Patriots fan, they're 8-0 last year. And everyone's like, man, I don't think we're very good. You know? Like,
we talked about that.
Right. Like, yeah, they can only beat Baltimore if it's like they get home field and it snows in Foxborough and Lamar slips, or like it's even at 8-0. And if they go 8-0 in Tampa, the city is going to be on fire and excitement.
Sure. And
like that's fun. And Brady's his own. That's not a Belichick critic. That's as much Brady as anything else, because he was always it's Super Bowl or bust. This is what we do. But at this age, it's like maybe, this is just going to be more fun for me to dial it back a little bit, where we don't have to sit there and try to go 14-2 and win the Super Bowl every year. Not that he won't try, but it's going to be a little bit more of an enjoyable thing. So I just kind of feel like it was time, and I think it's more exciting for Brady. I think it's more exciting for the Patriots. I think it's more exciting for the NFL. Yeah. I think
20
they had a
years,
great story. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, I can see that. Stale might be the wrong word, but maybe things were getting a little stale from that perspective. I know, you and I take a lot of heat being here in Metro Detroit, being Patriots fans. Patriots. Same old, same old. I wonder if it was getting a little, laissez-faire for New England as a whole, from the fan base through the team, through Brady and Belichick.
Yeah, 11-5 would be amazing in Tampa.
Yeah,
and 11-5 in New England is not a good season. It's like 13-3 is a good season.
Yeah.
14-2, and so it's just I don't know. I just think good for all of them. If you last this long, you're playing on house money. It's
Absolutely.
not, you don't owe anybody anything. This is his 21st season.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So here we go. We're going to find out. Hopefully they have the season, but if they haven't, I think they probably will. I just think it's cool for the NFL.
Absolutely.
I mean, many people here, or whoever's listening to this, whatever team you root for, that first week you're going to be like, I wonder how Tampa's doing. I wonder how New England's doing.
Right.
Interesting. Both.
Yep. Absolutely. Dan, you were born and raised a New England fan. You're from Massachusetts. My family originated over there. I know you're also a Brady guy. Are you buying the TBTB? I think it's almost destined. Tom Brady, Tampa Bay. The letters work. Are you buying the Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, or are you sticking with the New England Patriots?
As a team to cheer for, I only cheer for the Patriots if I'm not working. So sometimes up at the bar, obviously I'm not there. But I would not change my allegiance. I was a Patriot fan before.
I'm with you.
Long before Tom Brady, and so why would I bail now? So TB and TB, good for him. Congrats. Good luck. I do not like that Tampa Bay.
Oh, God, no, that's brutal.
That's awful. Tampa Bay.
Yes. No.
You buy a T-shirt that says Tampa Bay Buccaneers. TB and TB. It's
yes,
perfect.
Yes. All right. Last one here for New England, because I know the listeners are going to get on me for talking all New England here. Is Jarrett Stidham the guy, or what do you see happening from a quarterback perspective with the Patriots?
Right now, they have Stidham and they have Brian Hoyer, and that's it. Now, is there some ace in the hole where they're going to try to move up and get Tua Tagovailoa or something on Thursday? I doubt it. I think they're going to give Stidham a chance, and they have a better understanding of what he's worth and what he can do than anybody else. And the fact that they just brought in Hoyer tells me that they think that this guy's got something to be a starter. So it's really hard to say. He had a pretty strong. He started at Baylor, and then he went to Auburn. His first year at Auburn, he did really well. His second year was less so. That's a quirky offense, not a very pro-friendly offense. It's kind of it's spread but run oriented. And anybody who's an Auburn fan will get mad. It's a little more complicated than that, but I'm doing my best in 2 sentences so we don't spend 10 minutes breaking down the Gus Malzahn offense. But it's not an offense that it's just not a pro style offense. So it's a little tricky. And, but the guy he's a hard worker. He's got accuracy, or he had it at different times. And, you get with McDaniels, you get with Brady, you get with Belichick. We'll see. So I think it'll be very interesting to see what they got. There's certainly been no panic. I don't know that they thought he was going to leave. I think maybe they thought he was just never going to leave, but there's not been a panic jump where they're saying, all right, we're going to go get Cam Newton, we're going to get Jameis Winston, we're going to get Andy Dalton, or any of these other Marcus Mariota, some of the veteran guys I thought they might go. They said, we'll take Hoyer back, and here we go. So unless they're doing something Thursday, here we go. We'll find out.
All right. I love it. All right. Let's transition kind of away from New England here, but maybe not really. Dan, I want to talk about your Netflix special, Killer Inside the Mind of Aaron Hernandez. Man, what an amazing documentary. Lindsay and I binge watched that thing back over the winter there. It was absolutely amazing. What sparked that project?
Well, I covered that story from the start for Yahoo Sports, just the moment, the moment that Aaron Hernandez was a person of interest in the murder of Odin Lloyd. It was just like, holy cow, like, this guy caught a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. He's, really had a very promising first 2 seasons in the NFL, a little less of a third. As we later found out, he was involved in a drive-by double homicide the summer before his third season. So that
probably took away from that.
Probably weighed on his mind. Yeah, you would hope. But the whole story from that through 2 trials, through his suicide, the twists, the turns, everything that went down. Every time you thought you figured the guy out, you did. And just one of the most fascinating people. And I don't mean to say fascinating in a positive way, but, you understand what I mean.
Sure.
Truly fascinating person that nobody understands. Nobody knew this guy. Nobody. His wife didn't know this part. His brother didn't know this part. His gangster friends didn't know this part. Like, he wasn't just living a double life. He was living a double life to every other person in the double lives, and just a complete chameleon. And the idea that you could be involved in this level of violence, and still operate at a extremely high level. I mean, it's not easy being an NFL football player. Like, it's more than just showing up. You gotta, there's a lot to learn, and if you're not on top of it, and just a fascinating guy. So throughout the writing, write all these different columns and different stuff. We really thought this guy Kevin Armstrong is in the movie. He was working at the New York Daily News then. We really thought there was a way to do a visual telling of this. Like writing, you can present things in a certain way that are positive that you can't really in video, but just really felt like it was a great story for a video medium. Sure. Because you got to see the security footage, right? You got to see the look on his eye, in his face during the trials, or you got to see and hear the testimony. It carries a different weight than just how you can write it, or if it's just audio or something like that. So
absolutely,
we were able to really work on that project, and then it was a huge hit at the time. But the only thing, it was non-quarantined, and we still got massive numbers. So
right, yeah,
very interesting.
How long did it take from start to finish to where it was actually available on Netflix?
Oh, it was. We were starting to try to get distribution deals. We were filming parts before the second trial, so before he was, he obviously was alive. So I think the whole thing probably took a little over 3 years.
Wow. That's a crazy investment.
And there's a million twists and turns. Very hard to get these documentaries made. It's just, the business is very, just up and down. So at one point we had a 2-hour movie. And we got it in the New York City Documentary Festival. And then Netflix, which had originally passed on the project, saw the movie, and then they said, no, it's a 3-part. They came in and said, we'll buy it and make it a 3-part series. That's kind of that perfect size binging. So there's a science to it that I didn't necessarily understand at the time, and maybe don't now, but it's pretty interesting business, because obviously it's huge business, and people think about how much binge watching there is now.
All right, so I got to make a
joke. Documentaries are everything now.
I got to joke with you. I mean, you were probably up there in like the top 5-10 until Tiger King came along, right?
Yeah, well, we'll see if we might have more legs than Tiger King.
I'd like to hope so. I love Tiger King, but Tiger
King was fun, but
yes.
Well, I don't know about fun, but the characters are crazy.
Absolutely. So, how many, how long did, and how, how many radio podcast interviews did you do with this? Because obviously there's a ton. If you look at the major sports markets, you look at, there's countless. I'm one of them, sports podcasts that are out there. How long did those just go 24/7 for you around that thing?
That first week or so was pretty wild. And I'll be honest, I knew how big Netflix. I thought I knew how big Netflix was, and I actually didn't. I don't watch a ton of television, so we have Netflix. My daughter watches. My wife will watch, and I watch Netflix, but I'm not just on there every day. And the night before it came out, they sent us some press material, just facts, and it said like Netflix has 164 million subscribers around the world. And I was like, holy cow, like that's
it's a third of America almost.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, that's global, but it was just like, that is an enormous number, okay? And then it just hit right away because it was the lead. Like if you logged on to Netflix, it was the one that's getting hyped. And so the power of that is just unbelievable. And so immediately it's like, number one trending. You're just on Twitter and different social media, and you just see it everywhere. And there's so many people watching it immediately, and it was like it was 0 to 100 in just a snap of a finger, and really crazy. So it's and then there's certainly a lot of media. It was very, very they did a great job. Gino McDermott and Blackfin and the guys at this company called Rock, Paper, Scissors and Netflix, everyone. So just a wild run of that. But there's just an insatiable attention to that story. I think it's a fascinating story. It's a good couples show. I think I heard that a lot.
Yeah.
My girlfriend likes true crime, but I don't want to hear about a dentist in Connecticut who killed somebody, or something.
Nailed it.
It's like, oh, football.
Nailed it.
Right. There's some football too, so yes. I'll watch that.
Yes. All right. So I want to ask, and this is probably a very general question here, but I know you've probably talked about this at length with everybody. So looking back, like you said, you started it when it was, midway through like the second trial. He was still alive. You probably had an idea going in, like what might have happened or where it might go. For me, like two of the biggest shockers for me was like the aunt that kept the car hidden in the garage for like over a year, and then Jose Baez coming in and taking on, like, those were like jaw-dropping moments for me as a viewer. What was like the biggest thing for you that was like, holy cow, did this really happen?
The suicide to me was the stunner of all throughout.
Okay.
Aaron goes to prison, and I had just spent the better part of 8 weeks covering that trial, and so I was in Boston pretty much every week. Multiple days. You're and you're not talking to him because he's the murder defendant, but I'm sitting 6 feet away from this guy for 8 weeks. I've been following him for years. And there just was no indication of anything. And you can, his fiance, his brother, his attorneys, everybody said the same thing. And then all of a sudden he's committed suicide. Just a complete shocker.
Sure.
Just stunning. And that one was the biggest surprise to me. I thought he would keep fighting. A lot of it makes sense to me in hindsight, but that was the biggest thing. I think because I knew the story all along, Tanya Singleton, I remember when she died, she was part of the story and then passed away in the middle of it.
Yep.
Talk about loyalty. Dumbfounded loyalty. She had 2 little boys, and she, went to jail and gave up cancer treatment to not talk to the police about the murder car hidden in a garage.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
It's just misplaced loyalties and things. But she also tried to help Carlos Ortiz and Bo Wallace get away, and and then one of the parts of the movie. I'll give you this if you wanted. The other one was when we got the jailhouse phone calls.
Yeah.
So that was a surprise because, when Suffolk County finally released a bunch of those, you could now hear Aaron's voice, which you just weren't hearing. I mean, he's the center of this whole thing, and he never spoke. He had done very few interviews in his life. He was, it was like he's a tight end on the Patriots. They're not, sitting down doing a bunch of interviews.
Mm-hmm.
Shut up and catch the ball. And Gronk was the one that got all the attention practically. Although Aaron got plenty. So here's this guy, everyone wants to know what he's thinking. And then here comes not just an interview, but these candid conversations where you hear him, arguing with his fiance or arguing with his mother or joking with his friends or just a million different, things.
You could really get a sense of throughout the three series as those were kind of mixed in there, like the chronological order of the events as they were happening kind of with him, and you could just kind of pick up the stress and the emotion, like you said, joking, like it's like, dude, how do you have the mindset to be able to joke about things right now? And then as things became a reality, you could very muffled and mumbled talk and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's up and down. It's a roller coaster. You just see the whole thing, and so it's. And I thought those were something we got, after his death and after we thought we knew the story. And it wasn't that those changed the story dramatically, but it added incredible perspective to it. And again, it's why that doc I think is so powerful. It's one thing to say, Aaron had an estranged relationship with his mother. It's another to hear them just, viciously screaming at each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fighting and the anger of childhood disappointment and childhood trauma and the realness of it. I mean, at times it's almost uncomfortable. And so when we got those, it just became just incredibly powerful, I thought, to get those. And that is something you didn't know. You had, how would you know? How would you know who he's talking to at night? So very, very, I thought that might have been the biggest, some of the surprise details. But, you go, well, Tanya Singleton must be really loyal to her cousin, Aaron Hernandez, and the fact that she's, refusing to testify. But then you hear the two of them have these really loving, deep conversations, and you're like, you kind of get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So I think that's why, as a story, and I'm glad that such a thing, these Netflix documentaries are only a few years old. We've obviously had documentaries for a long time,
Sure.
but not told this way since really Making a Murderer came along and upended the whole thing. And that's why we have a 10-part Michael Jordan thing going on right now.
Yep.
Because it changed the way we watch and consume. And so all of a sudden you have an ability to let something breathe and tell more of the context and the nuance, and not just, hey, how can I fit this into a 44-minute, 1-hour TV special that has, time for commercials, or maybe, 2 hours. It's like, no, you've got, they got 8 hours on this Jordan thing, right? So it just changes everything. And I think I'm glad that this story, which honestly could have been longer, you only want so long, but got a chance to explore some of those different things.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I know we could go on for another hour on that, so I'm gonna take a hard left turn here for us, and let's.
All right, lap traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. All right. We got the NFL draft Thursday night. Dan, how is the quarantine going to impact draft night for the teams and even you, like the media? How's it going to be different for everybody?
Not a ton for the media. You either would attend the draft and you're kind of watching on TV anyway, because it's like this huge circus and stage thing. So you're just not. But you're there, but then you get to talk to players after they get picked, and that's kind of fun. You see the parents, and it's such a great night for every one of them.
Sure.
And I think that the ones that would normally, if you're a beat writer of a team, you're just not at the facility, they'll do conference calls or whatever with the coach and the general manager. So not too much there. I think we'll see with the teams. How hard is it to pull off a trade? If you have so many moving parts, you're not conference calling one war room to another and 25 guys can huddle around and listen. It's on each end, that technology is going to be a little clunky. Some of these, needless to say, if you heard some of these complaints and these concerns from these general managers and coaches, they're not the most tech savvy.
Right. Yeah. No, these are clipboard X's and O's, not, master and Zoom meetings by any means. Right.
No, like one of them, I heard, one guy was complaining that an IT professional had to come over in his house for like an hour. And, he was worried, well, what if that guy's got corona? These guys, the NFL guys are just creatures of habit. They're just mad about everything, right?
Yep.
And you're like, wait, it took an hour to set up Zoom? What'd you do? Like,
so needless to say,
what's going on? And
if a trade hasn't happened yet, it probably isn't happening on Thursday.
I don't think that there'll be a lot of that. Like, and then it's like, is someone going to be like not able to? Like if someone's internet gonna glitch because their daughter's upstairs watching Netflix or something,
like the old AOL days, like mom picks up the phone and messes up the landline.
Yeah, because these guys are just in neighborhoods. Like, well, like I said, like you got to make everyone in your house like, oh, I'm sorry, my teenage son's on the playing video games with his buddies. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll find out. I think it's funny. I'll give you one funny one. This is the one I think they should do, and I hope they do, is when Goodell opens it, he has like a booing track.
He has to.
Right. Has to, right? Hit the button, let him boo, and say, all right, now we can start, right? He has to do that.
Absolutely.
It would be the most humanizing thing Roger Goodell could do. So, hoping for that.
Yes. All right. So I got a sidetrack just because something you said there just kind of sparked this here for me. Whether it's the NFL, if basketball's able to pick back up, if hockey's able to pick back up, does there need to be, or is it, should there be an asterisk around anything pertaining to this in the record books?
So if they get the basketball going, and let's say you've heard this basketball plan, which actually they make some sense, right? Take the teams, put them in the MGM Grand in Vegas, get 6,000 rooms. You got an arena, play ball, and whatever. Milwaukee wins and the Lakers win. Is there an asterisk? I don't know. I mean, it's different, but it's like all the rules were agreed to.
Sure.
I don't know if there's an asterisk. It's just a different event. Absolutely.
Right.
But I kind of feel like the asterisks are when something gets done that wasn't right or not everyone was on the same page.
I'm with you.
I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm just hoping they do it.
Yeah, I think everybody is.
I would take single elimination NBA, like even if it's like for 2 weeks.
Right. Let's give us some of the NCAA tournament that we missed a little bit.
But I really feel like I don't know about football's tough. Football's harder. College football to me is the hardest. I don't know that college football can do it. NFL maybe, but we'll see. But I just feel like we're talking. It's still mid-April, and we have every smart person in the world working on this. Can we get obviously a vaccine's a way away, but a treatment that cuts down on the severity of it, and can we figure something? I'm hopeful that happens, and you look back and go, it's been a bad month. I mean, almost 45,000 Americans died in the last month. I mean, it's brutal. So at this point, there's times in the day you almost feel helpless. You're like, how is this ever ending? But in a month we may be like, you know what, we can do this, or we know this much more about it. We started late on this. Maybe now we are gaining. I just feel like we have so many smart people working on it. You know, hopefully we can figure out how to do something. And even if it's just, it's not the same, or they do the Stanley Cup playoffs, but it's only the top 8 teams and not the 16, or I could care less if the NBA just went to 8 teams. Like the first, you know, like team 8, you don't need Milwaukee blasting whoever's in 8th place, you know, easy. Just get something done. It would be awesome. And then if it's a 30-team NBA, you know, NCAA style tournament, then hey, that's better than nothing.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
I'm hoping we get something.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's switch over. Let's get a couple listener questions in here, and then we'll wrap things up with the Lions here. Matt at Camper News, do you think that the picks the Giants make this draft will be the decider on if Dave Gettleman will keep his job, and what do you think they need most?
I think the development of Daniel Jones will decide what if Gettleman keeps his job. I mean, obviously these picks are really important. I mean, they need a lot. That's the problem.
They might need more than the Lions.
They might need more than Lions. But if I mean, this is a big draft for him. They're all big drafts. But yeah, if he can come out of it with some good players, but if they can come out with a good nucleus of 3 or 4 guys out of this draft that can really play, you know, 3 starters and a quality rotation guy or something like that, it's a pretty good group. And Jones develops, and you got Barkley, you know, and I think there's enough momentum there that he's fine. I don't think he has to must hit on this, but certainly he needs to. I mean, they got some nice slots to pick at. They've got a bunch of picks. You know, it'll be interesting. But you know, I mean, he gambled on a quarterback not everyone believed in. There's certainly potential there, but we'll see.
Excellent. All right. Mick at GoDucks42_Mick, with Oregon having more bust than boom with quarterbacks going to the NFL, is there a concern with teams looking to draft Justin Herbert?
I don't think the Oregon part, well, I don't think it should matter. First off, it's just a different system. I mean, this isn't like the same coach has been there all the time, right? So we've had Chip Kelly, we've had post Kelly, you know, we're on to Mario Cristobal. So it's a different coach and different system and different style of quarterback. So it shouldn't. So I don't think the Oregon part, it might subconsciously, but it shouldn't. I'm not a big Justin Herbert fan. I don't think I wouldn't be very excited about him. I haven't studied him the way the NFL guys do, so I always leave that I mean, watched him play a little bit, and that's about it. But I think, you know, if you're caught up on that, then that's a failure, because you might be walking into a blind spot because you're worried about what jersey he wears, when this is a totally different quarterback and style of quarterback than maybe they had in the past.
Excellent. All right. Eddie at EG3_Fast Eddie. Does Tua's injury impact draft location? Does he go in the first round?
He's got to go in the first round. I think I would take Tua Tagovailoa. I thought he's phenomenal. If he's not injured, obviously that's a huge not. But if he's not injured, then there's a massive debate over who's number 1 pick. And so, unless you think he's just automatically going to get injured and never be the same again, which is a huge risk since you just haven't been able to do all those medical exams that you would have wanted.
Sure.
Man, why is he falling out of the top 5 now? He might, but I can't imagine he falls out of the first round. There's been no indication that teams are that scared of him. Teams might be sitting there saying, hey, I'm going to take Chase Young, or I'm going to take this guy or that. But, you know, once you get past those just really obvious guys that you think can plug in for 12 years, quarterback's such an important position. I would, even at Washington at 2, you know, I think you have to really, really think hard about taking Tua Tagovailoa.
Gotcha. I love it. All right. My buddy Brad, Browns or Chiefs, or Browns and the Chiefs. What direction do you see those guys going in?
Well, I think I had no idea. The Browns should be better coached, I guess. The penalties and the discipline was a problem. I don't know that they're going anywhere fast. I think the Chiefs remain the team to beat. I think Baltimore never got the crack at Kansas City, but if I'm looking at that AFC, right now, I don't know how those aren't your 1-2. And as long as Kansas City kept pretty much most of its crew together and they've got the best quarterback in the game, I think, right now in Mahomes. So I don't know if they can win another Super Bowl. It's hard to win Super Bowls back-to-back. It's hard to get back to Super Bowls. And the New England is like altered reality. Yeah, like it's like think all the teams they beat who now fell apart. Atlanta, Philly. I mean, it's only a few years ago.
Sure.
Right. It's so hard.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
But man, they got Mahomes and they still got him on a rookie deal. If you got that, you should be a contender.
Absolutely.
Albeit I'm very, very interested to see what they do with I do want to see that Baltimore. No offense to Tennessee, they earned it, but I wanted to see that Baltimore-Kansas City game.
That would have been good. I'm with you. All right. Veteran weather reporter on the Lap Traffic Podcast, Aaron Studwell. What has been the feedback around college football with regards to the recent Ohio State study? Will this have any sway in what the NCAA does for compensating athletes or maybe even just the revenue sports?
Yeah, so they did a study on how much each guy's name, image, and likeness. I don't think that will be a big change. I think it's going to be the NCAA just doing it when they absolutely have to, because they don't want to share any of the money, and that is particularly true after the coronavirus, because they just lost an NCAA basketball tournament, and they're staring at a football season where these schools make the vast majority of their money. And it is either, it may not happen, or it may happen in empty stadiums, which in college football,
that's
about 70% of your money. I know in Michigan, it's about 75% of their money is ticket sales.
Yeah.
And then all that goes around it, parking, T-shirts, game day revenue. Or, maybe it's one of those, we can put 30,000 in there, or we can put 50,000 in there, or how many people are going to want to go to football games in the fall?
Yeah. I think there might be some hesitation among some that might, maybe you space out your season ticket holders and, that have been there for X amount of years, depending on how many you've got, and, space them out every other
that's
row.
Lost revenue.
Yeah.
And I just think as a fan, all right, let's say you want to go to, I know the game's in Ohio this year, but let's say Ohio State's playing at, you want to go to the Ohio State-Michigan game. Yeah, I'll crowd into that. You want to go to the Michigan-Miami of Ohio game.
Yeah.
No, I'll stay home for that one,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to risk that. I'm not where they got Michigan's got 100,000 people in there every time, 40-something years.
Yep.
They're counting that money. You're budgeted for that money. That's guaranteed. I mean, there's no way you're not getting that money.
Yep.
And here comes this. So I think name, image, and likeness. The NCAA schools these schools are in for a massive budget problems and realtering, and I can't even imagine some of it, like laying off your entire football. But I don't know. I don't know what they'll do, and they don't know.
Sure.
But if you don't have a football season, or you have to play with empty stands, it is going to be devastating. NFL teams can make it. They've got deep-pocketed owners. The colleges themselves are in trouble.
Sure.
It's just so many issues.
Yep.
So many issues on it.
All right, I got one more listener one for you, and then we'll talk about the Lions real quick. This is a fun one. Andrew at Racing Cants. Who would you rather be stuck in quarantine with? Gronkowski, Johnny Football, Clint Boyer, or write your own answer in?
Gronk, Johnny Football, Boyer.
And Clint Boyer, I don't know if you've been able to tune into any of the iRacing stuff that NASCAR's put out, but it is absolutely fantastic. And
I have watched some. I have not watched a ton of Boyer.
Well, Clint Boyer is he's their Fox in-race guy, so he's racing in a simulator on the Fox broadcast. Dude is pure gold on TV, man.
I have enjoyed the iRacing when I have watched. I haven't watched it all. I wrote a column about Larson, and one of the points I made was, of all the sports that have done pretty well with, something they don't want it. They believe me, they want to race.
Sure.
Normal. But the iRacing, they're getting good TV ratings, and I'm not sure that it isn't like there's a benefit to how many just esports people kind of somehow tune into it and go, hey, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And maybe stick around when there's a real race.
That's
I don't know.
That's the goal. I know that's the goal.
Yeah. It's been successful. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't
know how you don't want to go.
That's a lot of. It's a lot of. Yeah. Gronk's pretty fun, but he might wear you out, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I think Gronk would get me in great shape, though. We'll go with Gronk.
I like it. All right, let's talk the Lions. We're in Metro Detroit. The draft's coming up, so who knows how they'll mess it up. Here's how I want to start this real quick. So Quinn, Patricia, not the best record. Lots of former Lions players have come out publicly commenting on Patricia as a head coach. We don't have an ownership that's as involved in the team like Jerry Jones, for example, and that can be good and bad. The Detroit fan base, obviously not a fan of Ford ownership. And we've gotten pure expected PR statements from both Patricia and Quinn saying that they're going to draft for the future. But in reality, I think we all have to agree they're drafting based on their job security. How is that going to impact things for the draft? And would it impact things if they were not on the hot seat, how they might draft?
Always better if they're not on the hot seat, because you don't have to make that desperation move to try to, you're always making the long-term plan. It's one of the benefits of, you see these coaches that have been there a while, Belichick, Pete Carroll, or Andy Reid's in Kansas City. Andy Reid in Kansas City was able to trade up to the number 10 selection 3 years ago and take Patrick Mahomes before anyone else quite thought Patrick Mahomes was there, and then sit his number 10 pick for an entire season. Mahomes played the final game of the year, the 17th week, because he was planning for the year after, when Andy Smith or Smith would be gone. So that's what you want, right? That's how you build a champion.
Yep.
And go, I've got time. I don't need – now, if Andy Reid's on the hot seat that year, everyone in Kansas City's on the hot seat, then maybe they sit there and go, well, let's grab this running back. It'll help us next year on third down. Might get us 2 more wins. Might get – and you pass. So the situation that the Lions are in is no good. The right move very well maybe to take Tua Tagovailoa at 3.
Ask you that. Yep.
Sit him for the year.
Yep.
And if you think you got something, then you trade Stafford at the end of next offseason, and you could get, 2 first rounds for Matthew Stafford, a first, a second, and then something else. Like, this is a valuable commodity. That's the way you would want that option. Do the Lions do these guys have this option? They may not. Now, whoever they pick, they may not make the wrong choice. That may be a terrible idea. I don't know. But you want all those. You want your guy walking in with all the options. So I hate hot seats. I hate where you need to make the playoffs. But then I also wonder, it's the Lions. Like, if they end up going 6-10, they're like, oh, we lost 2 games at the, right at the end, like they always do. Is that enough to keep a job? The only guy who's ever been held accountable is Caldwell. Everyone else gets third, fourth chances. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. no question it affects your mindset because your number one goal is self-preservation.
Absolutely.
And that's high-paid jobs that are hard to get. You don't want to give them up.
And that's where it's like, all right, well, maybe it's a bummer that we don't have a Jerry Jones type who would see that and be like, hey, listen, I want this guy. I don't foresee Martha Ford, going to Patricia, go and say, hey, take Tua. I just don't see that happening.
Right. No, I don't think she's sitting in on that.
No, not at all. All right, Dan, I want your pick. You're not going to be able to hear it, but it's playing. The music is queued up. Dan Wetzel with the third pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Who do the Detroit Lions select?
I'll take Tua, man. I'll take him.
I love it. I would too.
Is it my choice or is it who I think?
No, it's your choice, man. Who do you take?
I take him.
Excellent.
Take him.
Absolutely.
Oh, this guy pans out. You're sitting pretty for the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
You're trading. You're getting him on a rookie deal, and you're trading Stafford. And Stafford's been great, and Stafford gets a chance to go win somewhere, which he actually deserves.
It's a win-win for everybody. We get picks. I'm all about it. Dan Wetzel. It's been 52 minutes almost. I can't thank you. I bet you weren't this generous with the Drew and Mike podcast. Who I absolutely
I'm not getting
love.
podcast wars going. We're all coming together here.
Trust me, they don't even know who the hell I am.
Yeah, don't worry.
Dan, where can everybody follow you on social media, and what new projects should everybody be on the lookout for?
Yeah, at Dan Wetzel on Twitter, and it's probably the best place. And we'll have a lot of draft coverage this week at Yahoo Sports. No documentaries coming, and but we're out there. Got my books on middle school readers, epic athletes, sports bios. We've got Tom Brady, Serena Williams, Steph Curry, Lionel Messi. Mahomes is coming, LeBron, a whole bunch of athletes. So if your kids are getting too much screen time, like every kid, feel free to buy them a book. So you can check that out. But good to be on with you, man. Always appreciate it.
Dan Wetzel, I appreciate it. Lab Traffic Nation, huge thanks to Dan Wetzel for calling in tonight. Dan, it was a blast. Stay safe, stay healthy. Give my best to Jan, the kids, and hopefully we'll have a drink at 24 very soon.
Definitely. Can't wait.
Awesome, man. Lab Traffic Nation, I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, that was so much fun. A 50-minute interview with Dan Wetzel. Man, that was great. It's not an interview. We don't. He's a friend of mine. He's a cool dude. I absolutely love him. Just absolutely incredible. So generous there to do that and have some fun there at the end for sure. Oh man, that was fun. Thanks to the listeners for tweeting in some questions there. I know it's not NASCAR. I know it's a NASCAR podcast, but hey, a lot of crossover. Hope you enjoyed that. NASCAR Talk's coming up here in just a minute, but it's the draft. We're in quarantine. Why not? Why not switch things up? Especially when you get to talk to somebody like Dan Wetzel, who's just so knowledgeable in all sports. I mean, if we wanted to do 50 minutes of NASCAR, even though I know he doesn't cover it as much, but man, Wetzel's been to the 500s, the Brickyards, the Homesteads. He's done it. He knows, and we could have done 50 minutes of NASCAR, but I thought, hell, let's do some football. Let's have some fun with it for sure. And hey, how about it early this afternoon? Unfortunately, it was after Dan and I recorded, but man, we kind of alluded to it a little bit. Gronkowski going to play with Tom Brady at Tampa Bay. And to be honest, I think for me, it just makes sense. That was the only spot, it was the only team that he was going to maybe come out of retirement for. I don't see that happening if it's anybody else other than to go play for Tom Brady so that those two can try to go do a little damage. Now, like Dan and I said, are the Patriots going to get to the Super Bowl? Well, hell, maybe Gronk's that final piece. But and the funny thing is, you may have saw me tweet it on Twitter earlier, Gronkowski is the WWE 24/7 champ that he picked up that belt at Mania, and that's kind of slipped under the radar. It's not been mentioned. He hasn't been on TV since. But man, I wonder how that plays a role. I assume he drops it in a non-physical fashion, or maybe he was talking with, or I was tweeted Dustin Albino, who's been on the show, also a WWE fan from Front Stretch. And, hey, maybe the title just quietly goes away. I think that isn't a horrible idea. It's a title that needs crowd interaction, which we don't have right now. So, but we'll see what happens. Definitely looking forward to Thursday for sure. All right, let's keep things rolling here. Let's get to a quick social media segment. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Like on Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast. Instagram, The Lap Traffic Podcast. And, of course, on Twitter, @LapTrafficPC. Listen to the show on iTunes, Podbean. All you got to do is search The Lap Traffic Podcast. Search NASCAR. It'll pop right up there. And, hey, leave a review, all that good stuff. 2 giveaways going on right now. I've got the T-shirt hat giveaway at 4,500 followers on Twitter. And, of course, the big 5,000 follower giveaway, the rear quarter panel there. Thank you to everyone that's retweeting and all that good stuff. Really appreciate it. I did a couple new contests during the season that weren't just the retweet and follows, and we'll definitely get back to those as soon as things and business picks back up. Real quick, want to give a couple new follower shout-outs. Sim Seats, @Sim Seats, turnkey driving simulators. Hey, let's get me one of them bad boys. I want one. And see, that's what this iRacing thing's going to do. I think it's going to pick business up, whether it's with rigs and or just subscriptions to iRacing. But I want one. Let's make that happen for sure. And Robert Hibby, @CC_Hibby, a engineer and crew chief. And we've got 43 fan @WS6 from Sterling Heights, Michigan. Very, very close. Basically neighbors. Welcome to the show. Thanks for the follow, guys. Tell your friends. Stickers, koozies. I've gotten some requests, and they're filled, and they're going to go out in the mail as soon as I can get to the post office. As well as T-shirts, hoodies, all that are available. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. All right, let's press on, and let's get to a little NASCAR talk now with Mr. Aaron Studwell. All right, Lap Traffic Nation, joining me on the line. You can follow him on Twitter @RaceWeather, along with Mr. Brian Newdorf, keeping us up to date on all the virtual happenings. And I'm very excited to announce to the show for the first time as Dr. Aaron Studwell. Sir, good evening. How are you, sir?
I'm good. It is still so surreal to be done after this amount of time.
Right?
It truly is.
You're no longer a student.
No, I'm no longer a student. I'm no longer a candidate. I am a doctor.
That's awesome.
I am not the kind of doctor that can help you in an emergency.
Right.
But I can tell you all about the atmosphere.
And you're not you're not writing any scripts either. Well, prescriptions, that is.
Well, I'm not supposed to do that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. I'm not writing prescriptions. No.
Oh, that's funny. So yeah, how has it set in that you didn't have to, write 20 pages over the weekend?
Yeah, and I felt really antsy and guilty for not doing anything.
Right. Yeah.
And I do understand that there's a residual of that. But yeah, it feels like I felt like I should be doing something. My laptop's sitting here, and I watched racing. On Sunday, I watched the Richmond race, and then I watched went over and watched a Formula One race and a virtual race. And I'm like, feel like I should be doing something, but I didn't have to.
Yeah. Well, take it in, enjoy it, and bask in the glory, man.
Oh, I know. It's going to be just a few more paperwork things. And then, unfortunately, like everybody else, not everybody else, but all the other graduates, nobody's walking. So, but fortunate for me, I'll still have the opportunity to walk at some point, be that end of summer semester or end of fall semester, depending how all this evolves.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good point there. Well, sir, what do you say? We talk a little bit about the Richmond race. I thought it was good. It seemed a lot faster than the first couple of races. What'd you think?
There's a lot of things I really liked about it. I liked the racing in, and I know that was available online and not necessarily on Fox or FS1. So if you do enjoy the racing, I mean, that's available as an outlet. I mean, and it's a chance to see some guys to race in, and that was good to see. I love the flyover. That was phenomenal.
So awesome.
I saw that, and I'm like, what am I watching? oh my God, how are they doing this? And it's just great how they tied all that together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Virtual flyover simulation that looked, just like you were watching the virtual, they did a damn good job with that. That's for sure.
And 20, your points, how well and faster, I think that goes to the what will become a broader topic for us is the no resets.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. We'll get to that here in a bit. I do want to ask, so when I'm watching a normal race, for years it was Race View that I had, the scanner kind of hooked up either on the iPad or phone while tweeting and watching. For this, though, with the virtual races, the drivers, some of them are on their own personal Twitch accounts, which is, I think, kind of like a better format than Periscope in terms of being able to interact with people and do a live feed. Have you dialed up anyone's Twitch account while watching to enhance the virtual experience?
I have not yet, although you just gave me a great idea. I did, break down. I did install Twitch on both my TV and on my iPad.
Excellent.
So I have an account, so that will be an option. It's going to be like in car, and you do hear everybody's communications, Kyle Larson,
yep.
But you do hear everything going on.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Different.
Yeah, no, and it's you hear the back and forth, and you hear the channels, and to talk about that kind of part of it, it is. I love the man, and you say, okay, who's my favorite driver now? Clint Boyer.
Oh God, pure gold. I say it every week. I think I said it earlier with Wetzel too. I'm like, Clint Boyer is just amazing. Like, he's the kind of guy, like, man, could you imagine like running into like a hole in the wall bar and Clint Boyer just being there and no one else is there, so you're just able to like just kick back and have a couple beers with Clint Boyer. Like, that would be one of the coolest things ever.
Oh my God. And it's just so amazing. And he's such a good sport, and he takes it seriously. I think he wants to do well, but he still is loose enough to say, I'm going to have fun with this.
Yes.
And okay, my engine expired. Some guy could have said, hey, look, maybe he couldn't leave. Maybe there's a contractual thing.
Yeah.
But he went down. He went down to the studio. He had fun with it.
Yep.
That was just great.
Well, I love the fact that they literally were giving him crap for missing qualifying because he had a full bladder, and literally as they were talking to him about that, his engine expired. I'm like, only Clint Boyer would that happen to at the same time there.
Yeah, and it's also nice to see, and I didn't catch this the first time, but watching it, Doug Yates tweeted in. I mean, it's to see people who are also in the sport kind of be involved in this still, where they don't have a vested interest. Somebody like Doug Yates doesn't need to be here and care about that engine expiring, but he played along. He played into it.
Absolutely.
And it was a lot of fun.
Yes, absolutely. William Byron goes back to back in the virtual world. I think we are definitely starting to get a sense of those that have logged a lot of laps. Like you're going to do better. William Byron being one of them, Bowman being one of them, Denny Hamlin being one of them. It's hard to cram, I think, and guys like Kevin Harvick, I think, prove that. Like, to get a rig and to, log a few laps during the week and then go run your first race on Sunday afternoon is proving to be a difficult task at hand.
Yeah, I think it's, people, and I keep seeing people, I don't care. Well, okay, if you don't care, why are you commenting on, people talking on Twitter or talking on Facebook about iRacing and talking about it, and people are like, I don't care. Well, okay, if you don't care, why are you reading this? Why are you scrolling down my thread
Sure.
and making a comment? I don't care.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. But this is, and they say it every week, and I've seen people play it, and I know people who play it. My son Alex plays it, and it's more than just a video game. It's a simulation, and having the stock setups and making it about the driver and making it about who's good at that skill. May not be good. You could put them all in IROC cars, and you know what? It's still going to be Kyle Busch and Brad Keselowski up front and other guys mid-pack. I'm not going to pick on anybody.
Sure.
But you're going to have the front runners out front.
Yeah.
But when it's this kind of platform where it's a computer platform and it's a different skill set, it's now those people who, like you said, do have that skill set and have years of practice, Dale Jr., Timmy Hill,
Yep.
Byron, who flat out admitted, I may not be in the series if it wasn't for this simulation for this game.
Well, and I don't think, and that's, I don't think there's anything wrong in highlighting different skill sets. Kyle Busch doesn't need to run iRacing. His name isn't going to be forgotten. I think it's great that he is running these iRaces. Give him enough time, and he's going to come back, and he'll be competing with the Timmy Hills.
100%. He still ran top 10.
Absolutely right.
And he
exactly. But I love the fact that we're giving, some of these guys that have been around, whether it's Truck, Xfinity Cup for a few years, and they're getting some name recognition. And whether or not that amounts to anything in terms of, better sponsors in the actual physical rides or not, who knows? But, these guys have paid some dues. They've struggled. Jeff Gordon probably doesn't talk Timmy Hill too much on the broadcast on a normal race weekend.
Right.
And that's the difference. And for me, that's what's keeping this somewhat fresh for me. I know there's been a lot of talk. There have been some articles. Gluck published one, about how, he's having a hard time, reporting on this like it is an actual race, and I still think kudos need to be given to Fox for treating it like a real race, because it should be. It's a visual thing that we're actually watching. So I think Fox obviously needs to continue that, and I think they've done a great job. From a reporting standpoint, I can get behind what Gluck is saying there, like, all right, this isn't for an actual, championship. This is a for fun invitational. I can't keep writing about it like it isn't. So I can get behind that too.
Right, and I think that's realistic. And then because honestly, we're going to get back to reality at some point, and with a compressed schedule, for the time he may be, say, taking off now or throttling back a little bit. If we have midweek races and double headers, and guess what? He's going to get his word count up. Absolutely. And he'll be fine.
Yes, yeah, and that's the thing. I was joking about it with Andrew Kansian the other day about fantasy, so insignificant compared to what, I know like the Jeff Glucks and Bob Pockerses of the world are going to end up having to do, because they're literally going to be working 7 days a week straight at the racetrack, bouncing, it's going to be grueling when we go back. But I was making the joke of, all right, once fantasy picks back up, all right, if there's a midweek race and then there's a Sunday race, all right, how do we do this from the picks perspective? And I'm like, well, things are going to have to change, from that, our picks for the whole week going to be due before the first race, all these things are going to come into play. It's going to be a rework for everybody that's involved.
Right. And you know what, and I want to throw, this is me being a male here and offering a solution to a problem that I wasn't asked to solve. But maybe we just have scoring updates until after the Sunday race.
Wow. So that's my thing. So my only thing that could play a role is all right, especially this year with the limits in the cup picks that you can do is, all right.
Ooh, yeah.
All right, if we got a Wednesday race, I don't want people to have to keep tracking. I hung people enough with the reminder emails. Like if I send out 2 emails Monday, Tuesday for the Wednesday pick, and then I'm sending out emails, Wednesday, Thursday for the weekend pick, I'm thinking that the weeks that we have midweek races, all right, your picks for the whole week are going to be due before the start of the Wednesday race, depending on, all that. That's where my initial thought is maybe leaning, but we'll cross that bridge once we get an official schedule out and we have a need to go back racing.
And there's the assumption that schedule won't change again, because if we have a bounce back in the fall, and we start having close downs or shutdowns again, or clamp downs,
yes,
to quote the Clash, that could change again, and you don't know where or don't know how.
Let's put a pin in that, because that's going to lead to, I think, how we'll wrap up our conversation here.
Yep.
Let's talk real quick. We're headed to Talladega. It's plate racing on sim racing. Well, the big topic this week, which I think, we talked about it at the start here, was the lack of resets led to a little bit quicker race, maybe a little bit cleaner start to a race. We had some cautions, but, cautions are to be expected when you're racing. I don't think there was, anything out of the ordinary as far as the cautions at the end.
I'm chuckling about Priest and Benedetto, but yes.
So we're going to a plate race. Do we have resets? Should we have resets? You put out a poll out there, and 33% of the votes came back for no resets. 31% came back for one reset. So 64% are somewhere between 0 and 1. What's your take on what we should do for the preset or the resets?
What I did like about that poll is we were talking yesterday or texting yesterday. Is like I put the poll out and you're like, I wrote that down 3 hours ago. Yeah. So it does show, and it's something I like about when we do the show together. There's a nice symmetry and there's nice coordination on that too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Personally, I like one. Given the nature of plate racing, here's something I couldn't find and may play a little bit into it. I could find the betting odds. I could not find how many laps this is going to be.
Oh, that's a good one. It's typically a 500-mile race. Typically, these mile and a half. Well, this was a 150. Ooh, I think they ran 150 laps at Richmond, but I think they've done 150 miles for the mile and a half. So yeah, that's a good question there. Let's see. I will kind of try to do double duty here. I'll pull up JSki.
I looked at JSki now, unless it updated recently.
It was not updated. All right. Yes, that is a true statement there. So here's my thing.
Go ahead.
Is I am torn on this because part of me thinks like, all right, seeing how clean they started the race with no resets leads me to believe that they shouldn't get one reset. And I say that especially headed to Talladega because I'm going to have to think this thing is going to go single file for a good majority of the race. So from that regard, I hope it's on a shorter side. Because just watching a sim race with single file is not going to be entertaining. So from that regard, I hope they don't extend the race that long. That said, if you give someone run reset, you're going to have the big one with 3 to go, and you're going to just reset the field basically how you were, and you're limited on the amount of times you can go green, white, checkered. So I don't think having a reset would be beneficial because of the cap on the overtimes that iRacing has.
Would you be open for one reset, but you can't use it in a certain time frame? You can't once we get past, say, 15 to go.
Well, I would be more open to that, but I would say you have to use it in the first half of the race.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, were maybe first 2/3 of the race.
Yeah, something like that. I guess sure. If you had a mishap, why not? But yeah, from the fact of that you're capped on the restarts at the end, I don't think a reset would be beneficial because all I think it's going to do is just create the same replay, basically.
Yeah, but only once. And here's the thing. You may see aggressive driving out there anyway once you get to 10 to go because this isn't, not diminishing iRacing, not diminishing. But
bank accounts it's
a video game.
I get it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And we're out here to have fun. You know what? It gives people, people we've seen where, Bubba Wallace could have gone out, he could have honestly dumped somebody. What was it, the 2017 500 or 2018?
17.
So yeah, he could have gone out and dumped him just to win the race. And you may see that with 1 to go. Or then you don't need the reset. Right. But yeah, I like the idea of one reset here just because of the nature of the track. Yeah. And I don't want to see, like we did at Daytona where we had 12 cars finish the race.
Right. Yes. No, I'm with you. Yeah. I'm not, what would be the word here? I'm not against it by any stretch. I'd be cool 0 or 1, I'm not going to lose sleep over by any means. But
right, yeah. I've seen people who say unlimited. It's like, no, that's not quite the point, because I think you get to your point where we said, yeah, Richmond, we didn't have any resets, and it was good racing. I have found myself watching, and I watched it again today. I found myself watching more iRacing, and then there's one online magazine that actually puts out a full schedule of every single race, and I get emails from a World of Outlaws.
Okay,
we're doing iRacing at this track tonight on the iRacing channel on YouTube, or somebody stream on Twitch or whatever. But we're getting more racing, and we're getting more exposure. And this goes to a broader, earlier point in saying we're getting more exposure for both drivers and series that don't get a ton of airtime.
Yep.
And it's bringing eyes in. And I think it's going to bring a more of appreciation to maybe the local short tracks, because I'm sure I talk about, I used to go to a place down in Texas, and then there's Route 44 up off, or I-44 up off southwest of Oklahoma City. I'd love to get there, but they're not doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you there. Let's see what's next here. I guess let's wrap up resets with. I wonder if it makes sense to address the number of reset. Do we put this in hard and fast for all going forward, or do we reevaluate based on the track that we're going to? I am more. I'm more in favor of maybe a reset at a 1.5 mile track, because if something happens, it's a little more of a freak occurrence than at, say, Talladega. And I say that again, just kind of tying back to, people go ballistic when we're single file at Daytona and Talladega. I have to imagine we're going to go single file. I would be stunned if we're not single file on Sunday. So, if we take that out of the equation and say we're going to whatever the next track is, do we still stick to 0 or 1 at that point?
The way they've been handling it from the outside looking in, it's really been week to week. And then even as TV pressure says we need to wrap this up.
Yeah, I think that's a great point there, because I think that plays probably a greater role in this than anything else, to be honest with you.
And I get it, but I also, here's what I don't know, and I should know, and I'll put it out there. Are we really doing live horse racing still?
Yeah, I think
nobody
so.
At the track. So we're actually breaking away from something 1 million people are watching.
Right.
That's been about the average viewership. I have not seen the Richmond numbers.
It was 990, something like that.
Okay, I'll round up.
Yeah. No, I'm with it. Yeah.
And we're going to horse racing. And I understand they have contractual obligations.
Yep.
I understand that there are people who are tuning in to watch this because now I can do off-track betting and whatever in some states. But and it's great. And you made this point earlier that Fox is making the effort. That honestly, you listen to Mike Joy, Jeff Gordon, and Larry McReynolds, and then also tossing Clint Boyer. They're actually treating this like a real race. I mean, Larry Mack is here wanting, almost begging to talk strategy.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. And I love him and Clint Boyer going back and forth about tires. Like, it's absolutely fantastic.
Well, yeah, they're channeling their inner Talladega Nights, but again, that's a great thing for the sport.
Of course, yes. All right, let's switch here. Last topic for the night. It's a lot of talk coming out over the last couple days. It looks like NASCAR is probably going to be the first sport to get back in action without fans. It's ironic, I think, because that's the sport that's going to take the most amount of people to get back going with or without fans. There was some rumblings that Texas might be the first race that they go to. I just saw an update before we started recording on J-Ski that Gossage said that it's his understanding that the intentions of NASCAR are for the first race to be the Coke 600 Memorial Day weekend. So I've got two things to offer on that. One, from a fan perspective, you're going to come the first, summer holiday weekend and give people a race potentially. Man, do we need the world of sports needs that win to be able to have a 3-day weekend, kick back, watch some sports. Hopefully some state, whatever, might be able to enjoy some family time, some friends, whatever that may be. From that side of things, that would be amazing. On the other side of things, and this kind of goes to a point that you brought up a little bit ago, just because we maybe start back racing doesn't mean we may not be, or doesn't mean we're going to be able to finish. Who knows what could happen down the road from a second flare-up or whatever. Are we possibly going back too soon?
I have not looked at the numbers from North Carolina in total. I've seen spot numbers and I've seen like case numbers from Winston-Salem and from Charlotte and kind of around the state. I don't, especially since it is Charlotte. And that's the majority of the race teams are within 15 miles of that track. I think that's fine. I honestly do. Now, you're right. There's a lot of people, but maybe you don't bring a lot of people because you're going to have your pit crew chief, driver. Okay, you've got NASCAR officials.
Yeah.
And broadcast team and the drivers.
And I guess that's you bring up a good point with that. We don't know what the rules are going to be. And this is, I know PETM's talked about this at length. I've talked about it at length. Is NASCAR is in a unique situation to where no one's going to fault them for decisions they make for the rest of the year, whether it's what days you run races, what your rules are to speed things up and all that. This is their golden opportunity to test things and get away with it without a lot of critique. So to that point, hell, NASCAR could flat out come and say, hey, unload it, take it to the grid and qualify. And that's it. And you're going to go through inspection post-race. So you may get one qualifying lap, go green. So to that point, you may not need a lot of people from the, garage crew, your pit crew and all that. You may be able to reduce a lot by limiting what's getting done on the track.
And I think, and I read this earlier today, that Boeing is going back to work in Seattle, which was a hot spot a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And just with responsible testing of anybody at the track. You can do random testing. Yeah. Have you had symptoms? Are you running a temperature? Simple enough as that. And yeah, it may just be, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. Go out, qualify, same day.
Yeah.
Friday night, we have to go out, qualify, have the truck race. And you have the same TV crew there Friday. Well, yeah, because it'd be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You may have different broadcasters, but it's all it'd either be FS1 or Fox Sports.
Yeah, and I think, if you're in Charlotte, obviously everybody can drive themselves to the track and drive home that night. You're not going to have race traffic or anything like that because you're not going to have fans there. So it's going to be pretty smooth. But, I think the concern then becomes, all right, well, what happens when everybody's got to get on an airplane to get to the track, whether it's the drivers in their own personal or, team owner planes. But when you start looking at the crew guys, the TV guys, eventually everyone's got to start flying commercial to get someplace. And I think that's where maybe some hesitation or reserve could maybe come into play, which would obviously be deservingly so, because then you got airport people, and then that just causes the spread. I don't know what the right answer is. Obviously, I'm just trying to throw all, possible sides out there, because like I said, man, yeah, I want to watch the Coke 600, absolutely. But on the same token, I don't want to watch the Coke 600, and I don't want to, in August or September or October, when the cold and flu season's starting to pick back up, us not be able to finish what we started.
But I'd rather have a partial season than no season. And so I'd rather start and then try to get as much in as we can. And also, we're looking ahead right now. So today's the 21st. Yes, because yesterday was 420. So today's the 21st. I'm a Ann Arbor. So a month ago, think where we were a month ago, or
Yeah.
say 5 weeks ago,
Yeah.
mid-March. I don't think anybody would have imagined we're like we are now.
Sure. Well,
where are
yeah,
we going to be?
'cause
Where are we going to be in 5 weeks?
At the beginning of March,
no
I was
flipping clue.
I was still telling Lindsay I'm still going to try to go to Martinsville on May 4th because that was when they were planning on going back. And yeah, that sure is not happening. So.
No, and it's just an evolving situation, and the sport's going to handle it, and the media's going to handle it, and everything will just move forward as we can. And I think it's a good effort, and I think it's just something we need to do from an economic standpoint. And I'm not saying go back today, but I think you need to plan to go back, especially in states. I did look at the Georgia numbers, how much they've dropped off on new cases, and everybody's like, "Well, Georgia's going back too early." Okay, yeah, I don't know about that, but their new cases have really dropped off.
Yeah.
And there are enough people out there who say, I'm the wrong kind of I'm the wrong kind of doctor.
Right.
So I can't give a
medical
total
opinion.
advice on this, but I think we need to plan. And I think that's what NASCAR is working towards right now.
Well, and I tell you, Michigan, we were 3rd in the nation. We're now 7th in the nation.
You there?
Yeah. You there?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything for a minute.
Oh, wow. Michigan was 3rd in the nation. We're now 7th. So we're starting to taper off, but we obviously still have new cases just like everybody else. So,
right.
And our stay-at-home order is through April 30th, and there's talk that the governor is going to extend, but maybe loosen some things. So, hopefully everything's going in the right direction, and I just know we're going to go back at some point, right? So let's, rally around that concept at least. And we'll just have to take it day by day.
And that's really the only thing we can do all together. And I think, having these discussions between you and I and then PETM and the media and the fans and NASCAR proper.
Absolutely. And, it's fun to have them as long, there's nothing wrong with hypotheticals as long as you're not trying to,
as long as you understand all sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And there's an appreciation for all sides on there. You can live in the land of what if, and I don't have to denigrate somebody who wants to stay home and is worried because they're high risk, or somebody in their family's high risk. But if somebody wants to, we get to a point and we open the tracks back up and, you don't have to go.
Right.
And I can sit here and watch racing at home. And I think it'll be good for the morale of at least NASCAR Nation. And again, you get a situation where you get more eyes on it. And, I'm going to go one other point here, and I know it's maybe more of a Formula One issue. You've got teams out there who say we may not survive if we do not have a 2020 season. Mm-hmm. We need to spend sponsorship money. We need the race money. We need the winnings.
Sure.
I would imagine there's a handful of NASCAR teams in that situation across all 3 series and even down to the ARCA and K&N levels.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. I love it. Well, sir, this was a great discussion. Thoroughly enjoyed that, sir. Lap Traffic Nation, make sure you follow Aaron on Twitter at RaceWeather, along with Brian Newdorf at NASCAR_WXMAN. It sounds like you guys might have to actually go back and do some work before you come on the show here in the next 4-6 weeks, maybe.
And that will be a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. All right, brother. Great talking with you. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk soon. Thanks for everything.
Yep. We'll see you. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Great to catch up there with Aaron there for a little extended segment. Hope you guys enjoyed that. All right. It is time for a Finn lucky dog and lap down this week. And that's partially on me to blame because I didn't promote the lucky dog and lap down picks as much as I normally would have liked to or normally do on Twitter. So that said, my lucky dog of the race weekend, Clint Boyer. It's got to go to Clint Boyer. Just so awesome and entertaining and helps keep that Fox broadcast so much fun to watch. My lap down. I'm sticking with the COVID-19 until there's no reason for it to be the lap down. And I'm just going to cut right to the couple lap traffic faithful that have left a couple messages on the Wave Around hotline.
Hi, Brandon. It's Matt at Camper News. So this weekend with the iRace at Richmond, definitely was a great race. I really thought, honestly, this weekend, unlike the other races where, iRacing decided not to have any, those, what you so-called fast repairs. The racing this weekend, the drivers I thought were more conservative. There was a lot more great battles, racing, and everything in between. Definitely, I'm glad, at least in a way, that they have the Saturday Night Thunder for, those who are not really in the Cup Series, more the Xfinity Series and the Truck Series, Arca Menard, it made for an entertaining show when it comes down to the Saturday Night Thunder, I thought. Being able to see those drivers battle it out, and have their own show while the Cup drivers, have the show on Sunday. It made for an exciting weekend. And so I got a couple of lucky dogs this week. First one, definitely William Byron again, second straight iRacing event. He has won for the Pro Invitational Series, and he's been really dominant in this. Coming in, I really thought he was, and that's what it is. He's led most of the laps in this series so far, and I think there's going to be more wins coming out for him, over the course of until racing comes back. And the second lucky dog for this week definitely has to be the finish. The finish, with that green light checker finish at the end, it really made for a exciting finish. It was a very close finish. Really enjoyed that. And hopefully, next weekend we're at Talladega. It's going to come down to, who's going to be the best when it comes down to Talladega next weekend. We don't know who's going to win going in, even if you're experienced at iRacing. Talladega next weekend, we never know who's going to survive Talladega next weekend. And anyway, that's it. No lap downs this week. So anyway, enjoy your week. Stay healthy, and I'll talk to you next weekend after the iRace at Talladega. Thank you so much, Brandon. Take care.
Hey, Matt, thanks for calling in. Hope you and the family staying healthy. Appreciate the call. And one thing you mentioned, the finishes. The finishes of these iRaces have delivered. That's for sure. They have come down to the wire. And granted, Byron kind of pulled away with it, but we did get an overtime restart there for sure. And I got to think that Talladega is definitely going to provide the same. I would be stunned if we didn't get at least one, if not two, and maybe maxed out at 3 overtime attempts this weekend at Talladega. All right, let's close the show out with the voice of the Wave Around Hotline.
What's going on, Lap Traffic Nation? Voice of the Wave Around Hotline. Racing Camp calling in with no hot takes this week because there's absolutely nothing to talk about. I hope everyone's staying safe, enjoying what you can, maybe some time off, maybe you need a mental reset from work, school, whatever, I don't know what everyone does on here. Just want everyone to stay safe. And we're looking forward to getting racing back, which could be a little bit sooner. For better or worse, I guess we'll find out. Looks like it's going to be at an intermediate, no doubt. In terms of holding a race down here in Florida, well, I remember Brandon, Kathleen, and myself, we all agree it's going to be a ghost town whenever they show up in March to race. It's now April, and there's no race, and little did we know. We would be absolutely correct, but not for the reason of a massive pandemic. So there's that. The iRacing thing, I think it's kind of starting to run its course, become a soap opera. The Larson thing was obviously very unfortunate that he made that mistake. It's not one. It's kind of bad that he did that, obviously. The Bubba thing was just, that could have been handled differently on both sides. It's just like it's become a soap opera, reality TV. Maybe the Talladega race will be like the Jersey Shore 500, and maybe they'll call it that. I don't know. They should, because it's, reality TV. But yeah, that's that. I hope everyone's staying safe, and can't wait to hopefully be in Texas, Darlington, Homestead, or Charlotte not too far away here. Have a good one, man. Stay safe.
Oh, Mr. Andrew Canty, thank you for calling in. Yeah, I can see that perspective 100%. Where it's gotten a little dramatic. It's taken a little WWE storyline for sure. But like you said, one thing is for sure: we are going to go back racing soon. And all right, Lap Traffic Nation, that is going to do it for episode 178 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. Make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, like on Facebook, The Lap Traffic Podcast, follow on Twitter at Lap Traffic PC. Don't forget about the giveaways and all that good stuff. Subscribe, download, keep it going. Huge thanks to Dan Wetzel and Aaron Studwell for calling in tonight. And next week, we're going to keep it going. Scott Page from Jayski.com will be back on the show. Looking forward to that. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya!